All right, that was Prime Minister Modi's interaction with the athletes. Let's now also get you updates from the Parliament. Opposition is staging a protest against the GST hike. After the new GST rates came into effect, the opposition leaders staging a protest in the Parliament. The opposition has been demanding a complete rollback in the new GST prices. A political face-off also ensuing over it because the BJP has hit back at the opposition, reminding them that several finance ministers of the opposition states were also present in the meeting when these new GST rates were decided. But now the opposition continuing to add pressure on the government to roll back the new prices that have come into effect. Madhav is joining us live with more details on this. Madhav, the protests, the Congress party is continuing to protest against it, and it's already planning to intensify these protests in the Parliament. The political face-off continues because the BJP has also pointed out that the opposition finance ministers were also present in this meeting.
Two or three important aspects that you've covered over there, and I'll start one by one. Yes, the protests are continuing for the third consecutive day in the monsoon session of Parliament. It's not just the Congress, the other opposition parties, including the left and the TRS, are protesting on the twin issues of the GST hike as well as price rise, which they say is pinching the common man, and are asking the government to roll back this particular decision. Now, of course, the government has come out to say that members of these opposition-ruled states were also present in the committee meetings when these decisions were being taken, and over there was no such opposition, is what has been claimed by the government, but never. These are, of course, important aspects that will be seen if the opposition now will relent on these issues, if they will allow for a discussion now that the Parliamentary Affairs Minister...
Okay, so that discussion is likely to be taken up in the Parliament, Madhav, but in fact, Sharon Elizabeth was also there at the spot as the protests were going on. Let's bring that ground report.
You can see right outside the Parliament, outside the Gandhi statue, there is in fact a number of opposition leaders who have in fact reached to protest against the GST that is going to be levied on essential commodities. Now, parties like NCP, the left, the Congress have in fact joined here in large number, and these are in fact the food essentials that has been in fact got by the opposition leaders, seeing that they are in fact saying that this is against the common man, this is against how can the people actually sustain such sort of a tax that is being levied on people. So you can see that people here, MPs in large number have in fact gathered over here to protest against the 5% GST, and we have seen past 2 days how the House has not been running. Both the houses have in fact been getting adjourned, and today as well they have been saying that they will continue with the protest. So as you can see,
so these are the protests that are taking place right outside the Parliament. Remember, there was a standoff also over the Dharna ban that had been called by the government. But the opposition leaders, not just the Congress party, but various opposition leaders staging a protest outside the Parliament. And this protest is also likely to continue inside the Parliament. So the opposition also protesting against the high inflation. So pressure mounting on the government as the monsoon session is going on. Remember, this discussion has also forced several adjournments, because of which the Parliament session is not going on. Today, as well as the Parliament session is convening, the opposition leaders have raised objections to the new GST rates, not asking for a discussion on it, but asking for a complete rollback. Top leaders of the Congress party and other opposition leaders are staging a protest. They've raised a few issues, including GST as well as the high inflation and unemployment. These are some of the issues that have been raised by the opposition. Outside the Parliament, now protests taking place. Similar scenes also being witnessed inside the Parliament in the last 2 days. Today is the third day of the Parliament, and today as well, similar scenes are expected. Ruckus ruling the roast. Madhav is joining us live. Madhav, these scenes of protest against inflation, against the new GST rates, and if this is a visual outside, inside the Parliament as well, similar protests have been witnessed.
Absolutely, we've seen how, in fact, Parliament has been adjourned repeatedly, both houses, Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha, for the last 2 days consecutively on this issue of the GST hike, and of course the hike particularly in day-to-day use goods such as milk, curd, as well as flour, which the opposition parties are saying are directly going to impact on the common man. That's why, in fact, they're continuing their protest. They will continue for the third consecutive day today, and remains to be seen really what happens to the demand for a discussion on these issues, because the government and the Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi tweeted yesterday in response to a tweet of Rahul Gandhi saying that the government is ready for a discussion on any issue and is always prepared for these discussions, is what the government is saying. Remains to be seen, of course, whether the opposition relents for a discussion on this issue or not.
Right, Madhav. In fact, these appeals have come in even at the start of the monsoon session. Prime Minister Modi had appealed to the opposition that if you have certain issues that you want to rake up, then we can have discussions on that. Earlier today, Smriti Irani also hitting out at Rahul Gandhi, saying he's absent from the session and is only indulging in ruckus. So this is an appeal that has gone on from the BJP that if there are discussions, let's take it up in the parliament, but let it be a fruitful session.
Well, yes, the government has stated this several times in the past that they are prepared for any kind of discussion and would, in fact, want members to not disrupt the proceedings, because that, in fact, goes against the spirit of, what Parliament is meant for debating, for discussing all issues that pertain to the common man. And certainly, of course, the government had made that